Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tearing down a pretty massive myth in the financial world. You know, if you just read the daily tech headlines, you'd probably assume we're already living in this purely digital, totally cashless society, where physical banking is just a relic of the past. But when we actually dig into the transaction data and look at the real market dynamics, a completely different and, frankly, highly profitable physical reality emerges. So let's jump right in and explore exactly why physical cash infrastructure isn't just surviving right now, it is absolutely thriving. Right off the bat, let's hit you with a number that completely blew my mind: 90%. According to research from Diebold Nextdoor and YouGov, 90% of consumers would literally refuse to bank with an institution that doesn't offer physical cash withdrawals. No way around it. And what's even more surprising here is that this demand is actually growing notably among Gen Z and millennials. So despite all the apps, people clearly still want and need access to physical currency. This completely shatters the whole cash is dead storyline we've been fed. The myth tells us that branches are entirely obsolete and digital is the only way forward. But the reality? It's a connected, hybrid future. In the real world, cash remains absolutely essential for privacy, for immediate settlement, and for basic budget control. Self-service machines are out there practically self-funding their own operations, and physical branch locations, they aren't disappearing at all. They're just evolving. And the hard data absolutely backs this up. Despite the massive digital boom and the everyday convenience of just tapping our phones, physical cash is still responsible for roughly 18 to 20% of all in-person transactions in the United States today. Think about that for a second. That is a massive, massive chunk of the economy, still physically changing hands every single day. All right, let's move into Section 1, the anatomy of profitability. Because wherever you have that kind of persistent consumer demand, you've got a gold mine waiting to be tapped. The real-world math here is brilliant, mainly because you don't need some massive, sprawling fleet to be profitable. A single, well-placed machine can generate incredibly meaningful standalone profit. For example, in a low-traffic location doing, say, 200 transactions a month with a standard $2.50 fee, you're looking at about $500 in monthly revenue. But if you place that exact same machine in a high-traffic environment, doing maybe 500 transactions a month, it can easily pull in over $1,200 a month, and that is just in surcharge revenue alone. But hey, those standard surcharges? That's really just the tip of the iceberg. Operators are out here stacking their revenue streams like a highly lucrative puzzle. Beyond that direct $2 to $3 surcharge fee paid by the customer, operators also earn interchange fees, which are paid out by the card processing network. Then, you've got incremental fees charged on credit card cash advances known as CCS. And finally, there's this fascinating tool called DCC, which is definitely worth a closer look. Let's zoom in on DCC, dynamic currency conversion, for a second. The crucial point here is that if you drop one of these machines in a tourist hotspot or a popular hotel, DCC kicks in. It allows international cardholders to pay for their withdrawals in their home currency. By handling that currency conversion right there at the machine, it creates an entirely new, highly profitable margin stream for the operator. It literally turns a standard everyday transaction into a premium service. And just to put the cherry on top of this whole profitability model, let's bust another common myth: the idea that these machines are a nightmare requiring heavy, constant maintenance. Not true anymore. Modern machines are loaded with remote diagnostics and monitoring, meaning they require very minimal physical upkeep. Because of this, operators are seeing a full return on an initial hardware investment of just $2,200 to $8,000 incredibly fast. We are talking full ROI, usually within just 6 to 18 months. Okay, moving on to Section 2, strategic placement and banking deserts. Making real money in this space today isn't about just throwing raw quantities of metal boxes onto every street corner. It is all about hyper-strategic placement. By targeting environments with high immediate cash demand and super limited banking competition, these machines become incredibly efficient assets. Convenience stores and gas stations are gold because they offer steady 24/7 foot traffic. Nightlife spots and bars work brilliantly because patrons have very low price sensitivity to fees during those peak weekend hours. Pop-up event venues see massive, sudden volume spikes. And crucially, we have to talk about rural banking deserts, where traditional brand consolidations have totally left communities without nearby banks. They literally rely on these machines as their primary financial hubs. Now, why should a retail business owner care deeply about hosting one of these? Well, having an ATM on site literally puts ready-to-spend physical cash directly into their customers' hands. Retailers frequently report that this drives a 10 to 20% boost in secondary, in-store impulse sales. The customer makes a withdrawal and immediately spends a portion of it on a snack, a drink, or a lottery ticket right there before they even leave the store. Let's get into Section 3, the Smart Fleet Revolution. Looking ahead, this whole industry is going through a massive evolution. We are shifting away from just deploying standalone boxes in dark corners to deploying highly sophisticated, service-rich ecosystems. Far from being some dying legacy technology, the market data tells a story of huge, undeniable growth. The U.S. ATM services market was valued at roughly $7.59 billion in 2024, and it's projected to surge to nearly $10 billion by 2033. And this growth isn't just from printing more machines. It's driven heavily by managed outsourcing, strategic retail partnerships, and next-level security upgrades. You might actually see global unit counts dip slightly, but don't let that fool you. That's actually a good thing. It just means the market is upgrading. The old playbook of maximizing raw unit volume with heavy, constant maintenance is completely out. The new strategy is all about deploying fewer but much smarter units, equipped with advanced chip reading, or EMV, and anti-skimming tech. By utilizing turnkey managed services, operators and retailers are slashing their operational friction and overhead while totally maximizing their uptime. A huge game changer driving all this new efficiency is something called cash recycling. This completely flips how fleets are managed on its head. Instead of having one armored truck come out to empty deposits and another completely separate truck coming out to fill the withdrawal cassettes, a cash recycler automatically accepts, validates, and redispenses the deposited notes. This means customer deposits instantly become the actual inventory for the very next customer's withdrawal. The financial impact here is absolutely staggering. By using these cash recyclers, operators can slash their expensive cash handling and cash in transit, or CIT, costs by up to 30%. This drastically boosts machine uptime and cuts out so much of the traditional overhead required to keep the ecosystem running smoothly. Which brings us to Section 4, Financial Inclusion Strategy. So let's tie all these granular data points back to the big picture. When you look at forward-thinking entities like BankAI, it becomes clear that even with all our incredible digital advances, a hybrid mix of cash and digital payments provides essential societal resilience. For so many customers out there, particularly in rural or underbanked populations, the ATM completely anchors their banking journey. It serves as their primary physical touchpoint with a financial institution, catering perfectly to populations that still rely heavily on cash for day-to-day budget control and immediate settlement. And because of this, the very role of the traditional bank branch is fundamentally changing. With 58% of standard, routine transactions now happening exclusively on self-service channels, the ATMs are out there doing the heavy lifting. This frees up human tellers inside the actual branches to handle the complex, relationship-building advisory roles. The physical branch certainly isn't dead, it's just becoming an advisory hub, while the automated machines handle the actual execution. So based on all the data, a winning playbook emerges pretty clearly, just like what we see with BankAI. First up, bypass the super expensive traditional physical branch entirely and deploy satellite-linked self-service terminals directly into those banking deserts. Second, implement cardless mobile access technology to instantly bridge the user's smartphone to physical cash. And third, utilize a surge-free network model. By stripping away those fees for the end user, you aggressively capture user volume and maximize inclusion in underserved regions, all while the machines completely self-fund through solid retail partnerships and massive surges in foot traffic. The research from Diebold Nixdorf and ATM Marketplace proves beyond a doubt that physical touchpoints aren't some relic of the past. They are the highly profitable anchor of a true hybrid financial future. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. As the rest of the world rushes headlong to go entirely digital, is your financial strategy physical enough to actually survive? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a whole new perspective on the cash in your pocket.